Hi, I'm Tiffany Patlin, host of the Tiffany Talks Health and Wellness podcast, where I discuss tools, tips, and techniques to heal your mind, body, and soul. I am on a godly mission to heal the world. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. We have a special guest, Armani Antonellis. He has a very diverse background in beach lifeguarding, sports coaching, and competitive public speaking. He is currently living in Australia and working as a massage therapist. He also self-published a memoir in February of this year, and that is called Pounding Chest. Thank you, Armani, for being here with us today.
Thanks, Tiffany. Great to be here.
I'm really interested in learning more about what made you want to write a teaching memoir about your life. I'm sure it's got some juicy details. Would you like to share with us?
Sure. Yeah, there's a great deal of stories in the book. It really started when I was younger, and I think I bought into this narrative in the US culture where you go to college and it's almost glorified to be some kind of party animal, or it makes you look cool. And I wanted to look cool, and I bought into it, and that's exactly what I did. And I ended up starting my own fraternity when I was around 19.
Oh, wow.
And my friends and I we were just being crazy and wild and foolish, and things kept escalating. And it started with like a noise nuisance complaint, and then I got in trouble for a petty theft for stealing alcohol, and then I got a DUI, and eventually I got in trouble for selling ecstasy. And I was walking into a music festival one day, and there was an undercover in line, and I had like a little shooter of whiskey behind my belt, and I wanted to put it into my pants so it wasn't hanging out. So I look around, I go to put it into my pants, and this guy grabs me right away, and he says, "Undercover, come with me." And then he searches me down, and he finds the ecstasy that I had on me. So instead of the festival, I went to jail for a few days. And when I went to jail, I really took a hard look at where my life had been going and thought about where I wanted it to go next. And when I got out, I started making small changes, getting up, a few hours before work and studying organic chemistry in the middle of the summer in San Diego before my class, and it paid off. And the little habits kept like getting better, and books certainly played a huge part for me, which is one reason why I ended up writing my own book. But I've always been a big reader, and school always came pretty naturally for me. So coming out of jail, I knew I wanted to play on my strengths. So I played on my strengths in school, and I read a bunch of books, a bunch of books about consciousness or how to optimize your day. I also read a book about natural healing, and I had never heard of naturopathic medicine before. And then I read a whole book about it, and I reached out to that community and I got involved with them. And eventually I got into a school that I really wanted to go to up in Washington. And that was a big game changer for me. I was able to go into a community where there were a lot of like-minded people, and that's where I went to massage school. Yeah, it was a bumpy road getting there, but there was one point after the DUI, and my little brother texts me, and he is much different than I am. And I was going out and wanting to have wild experiences, and he was always more like keeping straight, and he went to a more of a military type school, so much different college experience. But he texted me saying he didn't really consider me his brother until I started getting my shit together. And this
Wow.
was after the DUI, so that one hit pretty hard. And it took a while for us to bring things back together, but eventually we did, and we made up. And we were kind of looking for some middle ground, or somewhere we could create something together or be involved in each other's lives. So it started with a goals list. He's also quite minimalistic, and he doesn't like material things. So one year for Christmas, he asked me, instead of getting Christmas presents for each other, we should write down a big list of goals and like all the crazy dreams that we want to accomplish in life. And we
Wow.
trade that with each other for Christmas. So we've been doing that every year now for years. And we've been trying to get our parents to get involved in it too, and some of our friends, and that's been going well.
That's really
But
cool.
yeah, it's a fun practice to do. So we started trading those goals with each other, and then we said, hey, we should bring more people out to this, because we started writing down, once we wrote the goals down on paper, and then we were both involved in each other's goals. So we started holding each other accountable, and we were
Yeah.
checking, how are your goals going this week? And we wanted to bring a whole bunch of other people onto the team with us. So he had an idea to start a men's group, and we got a bunch of our close friends together from high school, and we started getting together to chat about the meaning of life, or doing some goal setting, pairing up for accountability, a whole bunch of workout challenges and exercises. Um, it's just something where we could have a more intentional gathering, and really try to create something with each other. And that has gone like really, really well. Um, One thing that I've noticed too in the US, especially when we first started the group, almost everyone's big goals were either professional or financial.
Hmm.
Sometimes there would be an athletic goal or some kind of fitness goal, but there weren't a lot of like personal, like more personal endeavors or creations going on. So I started coming up with like fancier creative projects for myself. Writing was certainly a big one of those, but like over time, like now people are setting much more personal goals. I was just talking to you before we went on that my brother and my best friend from high school, who were both in the group as well, are now just started their own podcast, and they're starting to do some more personal creation stuff. And there's a few of the guys that recently set a goal to do 100-mile race. We've
Wow.
done some big runs together. I did a pretty big run with one of them earlier this year. So it's really cool to see people getting into things that are more like personally fulfilling, instead of just going back to work and doing what your job or your boss wants you to do at your job and climbing up a ladder. Um, it's something that was really cool for me to see happen with the group.
Well, wouldn't you agree that with when you focus on basically personal development, whatever area that is for you, it kind of tends to branch out into your professional life, which eventually, you know, builds your financial, right? Your financials, right?
100%.
So that's awesome. I love that. I'm actually really inspired to do that. Thank you for sharing that. I really like the idea. Something's always bothered me about the whole gift giving at Christmas. Not that I don't like to give, but like the receiving thing. I kind of resonate with maybe your brother's thought of why he even came up with that. Something that's more meaningful, more powerful. I mean, something like that. And then keeping each other accountable. I think that's amazing. And I remember when you first told me about that men's group that you had put together, and I think more men should do stuff like that. So I appreciate you taking the lead on that because there's a lot of women's groups, there's a lot of this, that, and the other for women, but there's not as much, I think, for men. So I think that that's really amazing that you're doing that. And it actually reminds me of my son's has a friend who's actually doing something similar, and he's young. He's a teen. So you're setting a good example and you're being a good role model for others. And thank you for sharing too about how that affected your brother, because I think people that are listening need to realize how much our lives affect our siblings, right?
Hmm.
Is he your older brother?
He's a younger brother by a year and
Okay.
a half.
But you are so impressionable on him in your life. And it's great that you guys are now doing something together and you guys are closer now. I love that.
Yeah, we're closer than we've ever been before now, and that feels really good.
Aw.
And yeah, like at the time when I was just drinking and partying and doing the drugs, like I wasn't really like I knew it I couldn't keep doing that forever, but I didn't realize the impact that it was having on my family for sure. And just like not being able to show up and meet up with um, my parents, or maybe like aunt and uncle for lunch one day, or not being around here or there maybe when my brother was looking for me, but I didn't really know it at the time.
Yeah.
And when that kept going on, and then it resulted in like I mean I wasn't happy when he texted me that, but I knew that he saw something greater in me. And
Mm.
so it was a mixed feelings thing,
Yeah, I
but
bet.
yeah, it ended up working out well.
It just shows the power of, making right choices in your life and being the best that you can be, because of that, you get to repair your relationships. Because I don't even want to think about what your life would have been without your brother, right? Like, it's like, no, I don't even want to think
Yeah,
about that. Just
yeah,
be grateful for the way that it is now. And I know a lot of people out there, even now, they have relationships with their siblings. I know people who don't even talk to their siblings and they don't even remember why. And I think that that is so sad. It's like something that wasn't even worth remembering, you think is worth, damaging your relationship with your sibling. Like, it's not. Family is everything and important. I mean, and look what you guys are doing for each other now. It's like you guys keep building each other up, pointing each other up. Like, that's awesome. That's amazing. Now your friends are involved. Like, you're just expanding and spreading that. And I think that's awesome.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun and really cool to see happen. And yeah, and like you said, I feel like more men should be doing the same thing, 100%. I think it's slowly starting to become something that people are looking for. Um, and I think you also like you don't have to make it that complicated. Like we made ours fairly structured, but I feel like since then it's almost become a little more casual. But really, even just texting someone to help keep you accountable for something that you're working towards can be an absolute game changer. Like while we had this group going, the group is called the Perimeter. I was finishing my studies in college while the group was really kicking off, and let's say I had a paper that I had to write that was due at the end of the week, and I would text my accountability partner and I would say, "Hey, I have this paper, it's due on Friday. If I don't have it all finished and turned in by Wednesday night, I owe you 300 pull-ups on Saturday."
Oh,
Something like that. And then pretty much all the time I did that, I would have the paper finished by Wednesday, and I'm not procrastinating and cramming it in at the last minute. It would be done. And then, if I did fail, then I'm just doing something like I would already be working out on the weekend, but that like I don't really want to do 300 pull-ups, but it's also good for me.
right.
So
I like that.
yeah,
It's like a
even
win-win.
just doing something like that. And I feel like when you like bring that up to people, sometimes they're like, oh, I don't want to bother someone to help me stay accountable. Every time I've ever asked someone to help me stay accountable, they're just jumping on board like right away. Like people it's a very small thing, and they really barely have to do anything at all. They're really just there to listen to you. It's a very simple thing, and people are like ready to help you progress towards the things you want to do.
Why do you think people use that? I think that's an excuse. Why do you think people use that excuse? Is it maybe coming from them, like maybe, I don't know, fear or something? What do you think?
I think that's a part of it. I think people like to be independent, and they don't like asking for help or aren't comfortable asking for help. And so if they are bothering someone with, you know, being involved in something that might end up being good for them, but they feel like they're almost burdening someone else, and it's like the last thing they want to do is burden someone. But I think once you just do it the first time and take that step, you realize it's really not a burden whatsoever. And oftentimes they'll end up asking you to help them stay accountable for something, and now you guys are creating something together.
Yeah, I can see that. So, for anybody that's listening out there that likes the idea but feels that way, then, oh, I don't want to burden somebody, he just gave you the perfect solution. Both of you guys it could be like an equal trade. Hey, I need you to help me be accountable for this. And what's something I can help you be accountable for? And this way it's mutual effort. Now there's no burden, it's mutual, right? Again, just building each other up. I love that. That's
Exactly.
awesome. And it could be anything. It could be anything, no matter how big or small, right? It's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
that's how we start out with the goals too. Like you can have we do a lot of goal setting in the perimeter, and like your small daily habits, setting goals for the small daily habits are the ones that are gonna pay off in the long run. So like the goals that my brother and I trade at Christmas, some of them are really big and ambitious, but like all of those, it just starts with doing one little thing each day or every other day. And, so like the book was a really big one for me. And like you mentioned earlier, I published a book in February of this year, and I had a goal last year to publish. And I had been working on a book for a while. It started as just a collection of journals during COVID. I went back through all my journals that were saved on Google Docs, and I was picking out highlights and stories, and then I seamed them all together. So it was a nice fluid story. And I had been working on it here and there, but once I actually wrote down on paper, I'm going to publish this year, that like I really went to work on it. And yeah, it's available on Amazon right now. I've got one copy right here, Pounding Chest.
Nice.
It really just goes deeper into depth of some of the stories that I was sharing here today. But yeah, like that was a big goal for me. And when I tell people that I published a book, there's a lot of other writers out there. Like it really surprises me, but they say, I don't think I could ever finish a book, or I don't think I could publish. But it's the same thing. It's just the small daily habits, and you do it a little bit at a time. And like overall, it took me maybe 3 years to write. But if when you work on it every day, you get there, and your dreams start coming true.
Yes, sir. You have to tell me, what brought you to Australia, or were you born there? You were born there? Did you live there and then you came to the States? Like, share that with me.
No, I was born in California, and I was traveling in Thailand last year. I actually went to Thailand to learn some Thai massage. I wanted to study massage in another country. I love Thai massage. So I went to Thailand. I met a bunch of travelers there, and they kept talking about the working holiday visa in Australia. And the visa, it's like very flexible. You could be in the country for 12 months. You can
Oh, wow.
work. People are English speaking. The Australian pay is good. And then you're not too far away from Asia. And I wanted to just go out and travel as much as I could for a while. So I'm spending at least a year in Australia, and yeah, hoping to travel Asia as much as I can the next year.
Wow. Yeah, I was checking out your Instagram.
Yeah.
And I noticed there was a couple pictures of there of you. You had some woman's arm in your hand, and you're over here doing your thing, doing your massage. And I'm like, man, I need one of those.
Yeah.
But where are you at currently?
I'm in Sydney right now in a neighborhood. It's called Newtown. It's like kind of a hip neighborhood of Portland. There's some really cool bookstores, which is one of the reasons that I picked it over here. So I have a book launch event coming up at one of the bookstores in Sydney in a few weeks.
Ooh, exciting. Where's it going to be at?
Yeah.
Go ahead and promote it. Let people know.
Yeah, it's going to be at Better Read Than Dead in Newtown on July 9th, Sunday. If any listeners are in Sydney, yeah, come on over. There's a RSVP link. Um, if you go onto Better Read Than Dead website, there's a link there with my name on it.
Sounds good. And I'll make sure I have all your links in the description box for everybody so they can get in touch
Perfect.
with you. Do you have any special words for somebody who maybe might be in that position that you found yourself in, where you were just not even thinking, you were just drowning in that life of what you thought you were supposed to do, which is being that that crazy party drinking guy?
Yeah. Changing the people that I was around was a really big one. So I was partying down in San Diego. When I went to college, I moved up to the state of Washington, and the new communities that I found myself in were super, super changing. So sometimes you have to make a move. You might not have to make a physical move, but you might have to change who you're hanging out with on the weekends, or what you're doing on the weekends. Overall, like, read more books. The books are always like just open me up into new avenues, or even if you're not learning things, you're also just connecting with stories, and it could be super invaluable. And set bigger goals. Start writing your goals down on paper. Start working day by day.
And find yourself that accountability partner.
The accountability partner as well. And I'm super available on Instagram. If anyone wants to DM me and has questions about accountability, or even wants to do a challenge together, shoot me a DM. I'm here. We'll get after it.
Ooh, I like that. So you do challenges.
Yeah, I
That's
like
really
doing different challenges. I've done a lot of fasting. I like workout challenges. I did a 55-hour fast last week.
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good practice of discipline. It gets easier each time you've done it. I've done a number of longer fasts now, so it gets easier. Like, I wouldn't start someone at a 55-hour.
Baby steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. And I love that you're mentioning for people to start reading more books, because I think people are moving away from that, but there's a lot of information that can be learned from books. So what would be your top 3 books that you would tell people you have to read this book? Obviously, number 1 is Pounding Chest. What would be some others?
Oh, the most impactful book for me on a day-to-day basis was called Own the Day, Own Your Life. It was written by Aubrey Marcus, and he breaks down like each hour of the day and how you can optimize it so you're productive, you're fulfilled, you're enjoying your day. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from that book was having a morning routine. So I've been waking up earlier since I read that book, and he talks about light water movement being the first 3 things you do at the beginning of the day. And so you hydrate yourself well, you expose yourself to light, and you start moving, and that's like super valuable. And then I sit down with my goals, and then I just knock out a few early in the day. To get back to your question, Pounding Chest, Own the Day, Own Your Life. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's also a really, really good one. And if anyone's looking for more of a novel, Chanteron was my latest favorite.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So everybody, you're welcome to reach out to Armani Antonellis. His handle is down there on the ticker. You can get his book, Pounding Chest, on Amazon. And how can they check out your men's group, The Perimeter? How can they learn about that? Is there like a Facebook group, or how do they get involved in that if they're interested?
The best way would be to DM me on Instagram. If they want to get involved, we can put something together. There is a website that we have up that I could share the link with you as well.
Go
People
for
can
it.
check that out.
Yep, sounds good. Because I think I can already see more chapters, men starting to get, inspired by what you're doing and create their own men's groups in their area of wherever they're at with their buddies. Because I think that's a beautiful movement right there. And I can see that exploding and just doing so much good in the world. Thank you so much, Armani, for coming on and sharing your story and all your golden nuggets. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tiffany. It was a
You bet.
pleasure.
You bet. Thanks to all you listeners out there. We will see you on the next episode. Bye now.
Bye.